Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
How's
you.
Yeah.
everybody doing? How are you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cool. Well, we'll be getting started here in just a second. Just getting a few things situated. So, nice to see a few new names on here today. Sherry, you got this recorded, right?
Yes, it's being recorded now.
Okay, great. So, we're going to be for the next core weeks changing up our structure here a little bit for what we're going to be doing. And if you guys could, just so that way we can get things flowing in the right way, in the chat box up here, just give me anything. I don't care if you just type seven, what's up, doesn't matter. I just want to get a little bit of a pulse check, just to see who's alive and active and well here. If you guys could just drop something like that in the support chat, awesome. So you guys here. What's up, Joe? Alan, good to see you guys. So, how many of you guys have already started trying to sell AI bots already? Whether voice or text or live transfer, just let me know in the chat. Like if you've already started, you can even just turn on your mics. I don't care. I want to know what methods you've taken to start, what you guys have tried, etc. If no one started it yet, then that's okay too. So here's the reason why I say that, because I've been selling voice bots now and text bots for, if you include text bots, it's been like a year and a half, 2 years. Just getting started, Nick says. And the way that things are going right now, especially with Go High Level, et cetera, things are moving so fast. And everybody has the ability to sell a text or voice bot. And a lot of them are getting good that really the most people are, I would say, at this point, commodities. And a commodity is anytime something starts getting so popular that everybody has it, that people can start price shopping, things start to become a little bit of a commodity. Now, when you think of a commodity, could whether you turn on your mic or throw it out there, or if you want to put it down in the chat, what's the first thing that you think of personally? To me, I'll give you guys an example of a commodity, in my opinion. A cell phone, an iPhone. This is a commodity. You can literally go online and price shop it. Like if you know, hey, I need an iPhone, I can go on and type in iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I can just say, okay, here's one, here's the best price, so forth. Software is 100%, like Sanders says, it's a commodity. And it's actually becoming a lower value commodity in many ways because people can build their own. They can use AI to do it. And so what I'm seeing a lot of people doing is they're selling it. They're not changing the way they've been selling. Unfortunately, the way that we've been selling something for the last, say, 6 months has to evolve because a lot's happened in 6 months in AI. You think about Vappy, uh, put it at everyone's fingertips. They can all create really decent voice bots. Consolidata makes it really easy for people to build bots. Go High Level makes it really easy for people to build bots. And you've got a system, closed bot, all these different things in between. But you know what is not a commodity? Things like art, because art is something that is unique. It's hard. It's something that is, it works for that person, and so they get to charge whatever they want for it, and it can be appealing. And I have found that identity resolution is starting to become a little bit like art in a sense, because it's not all made the same. So I'll give you an example. There was a company that still exists. Have you guys heard of? You can quote me if I'm wrong on the name, but it's either Ad Labs or Audience Labs. Has anybody heard of them? Okay, Alvin says yes, and actually, Alvin's been doing identity resolution for a long time, so he would be a perfect person to chime in on some stuff because he's going to be very well established in his knowledge in this particular thing. They They were basically using, there was I'm not going to start giving people's names out, but they were using the same strategy that this one guy who ended up coming out with something called capital audiences was using. And I tested it for like 3 months. And I'll be honest with you, there was data coming in, but it kind of sucked. I feel bad saying that, but like Alvin's shaking his head. You're in the same boat. You felt the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how I tested mine? I did it by probably doing something that's illegal. I called everyone. I would just call them. I'd be like, hey, question, were you actually on our website? And unfortunately, like I would say at least 80% of the people had no clue who I was. Was it someone at your household? Nope,
Mm-hmm.
no one's into this. My husband's a trucker, would never even be remotely in like that was the kind of stuff that I was getting. And so I kept testing and testing and testing data until we landed on what we have now. And what we've actually found now is the data pool we pull from is actually from a credit repair company. The credit, they're pulling from Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. And so what happens is people come on, they do cookie matching. So that's how ours is working is through cookie matching. They send that, we create what's called an MD5 when someone visits the website, and then we send that data back to the data pool and they tell us who this is. Now you might be thinking, how does this play in with anything, bots, etc.? Well, because I believe that you've got to have good front end offers that are utility based, and then you can upsell people on other things. And here's what I mean by a utility based offer. Think of Zapier. If you're reliant on the automations of Zapier, and then your card, for instance, needs to be updated, and all of a sudden you have all these failed zaps, things aren't working, what are you going to do immediately? You can go put your card back on file because you want to get your Zapier working properly. So that is like a utility. You could say Twilio. It's a utility. It's a phone service. Data is a utility as well. It can be if it's sold properly. And so people have thousands of visitors if they're running ads to their website. And a lot of that is just going through the hole. They're not doing anything with that data. But what if they could? What if they could capture 10, 15, 20% of the data, send them through an email campaign, get those people to reply, and then use an AI bot to be able to continue to converse with them? Now, just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have ever ran a reactivation campaign? Like almost everybody has ran a reactivation campaign. What happens after they're excited, they got results, they got people that came in because you were able to reactivate their list, but now they're out of leads, you burnt out their audience. Now what are you going to do? So the idea is that we can keep building their email list. And actually, I hate to use a ClickFunnels reference, but if you go back to the book.com secrets, remember it's all about list building, building your email list. You send out a portion of those people, you send them out emails, and a small percent are going to end up buying from you. It's the same kind of idea. So that's where we're going with the identity resolution. Now, here's the fun thing. Who needs identity resolution? Alvin, you've probably sold quite a bit of identity resolution.
Everyone. I mainly use it for ads, just a primer, but it works. It works.
Yeah, so I do the same thing. I sell to people running ads because they're paying for leads. Why not get more leads for them? Hey, you're already paying $5,000 a month just for Facebook ads and Google ads. What if I can get you leads for 50 cents a pop? Alvin, can I ask you, you don't have to share this, but can I ask, what do you sell it for?
We don't sell identity resolution by itself. We sell it as a package. But our package is like it starts from like 3,500 to 5,000 and 10,000. If it's larger client, we charge 10. But yeah, those are the different price offers that we use.
Yeah, and the thing is that you can do that. You can either sell this where you're selling it as a whole package, or you could sell this as something that if you're wanting a low barrier to entry, like you think of some of the models like OpenAI where they put credits in their system and they start doing that, you could do that. Now, what I'm wanting to do for our format here over the next 4 weeks is today is kind of an orientation of talking about, getting our heads wrapped around the ideas of how, the identity resolution, how we're going to sell it, how we're going to acquire the customers on this, etc. But over the next 4 weeks, we're going to go through how to get demos for people who want identity resolution. And then I'm going to talk about how to actually pitch them on the identity resolution. And then we're going to go through actually selling or fulfilling on it, setting it up, which is super easy. You could watch a YouTube video, it takes 5 minutes. Now, here's personally why I love the idea of identity resolution. If someone has any form of traffic, my fulfillment is done the second I install that script on their website and send them through a follow-up campaign. Like it's hands off at that point. If you think about like when you would run Facebook ads for clients, YouTube ads for clients, SEO for clients, it's constant work. You're constantly, now you can upsell them. You could be like, hey, do you want more traffic? We do SEO. Hey, do you want more? But we can do Facebook ads. So there's no reason why you can't upsell them on this. I personally just love not having to deal with any of that crap. Put the script on their website, let it generate leads, and send the leads into their CRM, give them a dashboard, and they're done. Now, if they ever want to turn it off, guess what? They can, or if they want to stop paying, but they lose their leads. So if they're making money, now I'll give you guys some interesting stats. Consolidata is probably this is abnormal results. So please don't pitch these results to your customers. But when I first started testing this, I wanted to test it over a 90-day period, 3 months. And the reason for that is there's a book that you may have read called Fanatical Prospecting. And in Fanatical Prospecting, they say it takes 90 days of building up a pipeline and nurturing it before you really can tell the results of something at a critical mass. So I when the leads would come in, I would send them into Go High Level with a tag, and then we would email them. And then I just pulled a list and I said, how many deals turned into paying customers that have this tag on? Over a 3-month period of time, how many customers do you think out of 2,800 leads, which was generated, how many do you actually think became paying customers? If I had to guess, if most people asked me, I would have said 30 or 40. Like that would have seemed reasonable. And it would have still been worth it. By the way, is my internet still working? Because everybody just paused. Can you hear me, Sherry?
Yes, we can hear you. But
Okay, good.
now a little, I think it's unstable.
Okay. The stats in Go High Level show
We don't have you don't have an audio.
Sherry.
Yes, we can hear you, but it's kind of intermittent. Your voice.
That's weird. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep going at it, and hopefully it fixes. I'm at a Starbucks, so
Mhm.
hopefully it was just a glitch. Yeah. So it ended up being over 800 people actually bought something from us, and it was just how many people had that identity resolution tag on it, plus made a purchase from us. That's the only stat that really mattered at that point. That's a really good conversion rate. But here's what I would suggest. I'm gonna pull up a whiteboard. It changed it. We're gonna do a new whiteboard. And I'm wanting to give you guys some mental stats because I'm going to be talking to you in a minute about starting some conversations with people on identity resolution. So that way you guys kind of know how this lays out, and it's always going to come down to some math, and so you're going to need to get excited. You guys remember when we all first started learning about like funnels, and we started learning about page conversions and how we all thought we were going to be millionaires overnight because if I just send enough traffic to this page and it converts at this, in some weird way, that optimistic attitude helped us to actually go sell crap because we were excited about it. And so here's what I want to share for you guys. Let's say that right now let's just use 100 leads for easy math. Let's say that you generate 100 leads for somebody. How many of those do you think are actually going to reply to your email campaign? I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that you're probably going to get like less than a 15% reply rate out of there. We'll say 15-20%, somewhere in there, but let's just say 15%. So let's say you have 15% actually end up replying to you. And out of that, let's say that you actually were able to get, we'll just say 20% to actually convert, because that's about accurate. That means for us that we're going to have about 3 customers sign up for every 3 leads. Now, I shouldn't say customers. That could be an appointment. That could just be an appointment. Whatever the call to action is, I like to frame that as saying whatever the call to action is, that's about what that ends up being. So if you were to spend right now on these 100 leads, because well, our thing is 12 cents. You guys can charge whatever you want. But let's just say that you go through here and you charge 50 cents per lead and you got these 100 leads. And so now you're $50 into it. $50 into this 100 leads. And out of that, initially we have 15 people that actually end up replying. So we'll go that. So we're paying now $3.33 per reply. And then out of that, say 20% of these people actually end up taking whatever your call to action is. So that's going to be about 3 people. That means that you paid $16 to get your desired match. Now on Facebook, how many of you guys are booking appointments for customers under $16? Just out of curiosity. And this math is obviously just kind of general math, but it's pretty accurate to what, 2 to 3% of your total leads. That's a pretty common thing. Like even in real estate, they teach if you send out 1,000 mailers, expect a 2 to 3% reply rate of people on them. People actually taking the call to action. Or if you send out an email blast, 2 to 3% of those people. If you do a webinar, I think Sam Oven's webinar is converted at 3% of registrations. So this tends to be a fairly, it's almost like an 80-20 rule kind of thing in marketing. So that's a really good rate that people are paying. The thing is that on Facebook or Google or YouTube, you're going to pay regardless of if you generate a lead. The beautiful thing about identity resolution is that you are only paying when the lead has been generated and it's at a fixed set amount. So then how do you go about getting people interested in this? Well, first, you have to get yourself excited about it. And the easiest way to get excited about something is to see it work. Once you see it work, and it's working, not just me telling you or Alvin saying, yeah, we do this, it works. But when you actually set something up for somebody and you see it actually go, you're like, okay, I'm sold on this. My suggestion would be go on your Facebook wall and say, hey, I got a question. I just got into a brand new data program where we've got some incredible data. And we're able to generate leads for you at 50 cents per lead. And I'm just looking for a testimonial right now. Usually it costs, $1,500 to get started, plus for the setup fee, plus then you pay, or 25, I don't care what you say the setup fee is. I'm willing to give someone completely free, wipe out the setup fee, and all you have to do is pay for the leads. If you just will test it out for 30 days and give me a testimonial at the end. That's all I ask. So put something like that on your wall. Then you're going to set it up for them. You'll see how easy it is to set it up in their landing page. You are upcharging the leads because we charge you 12 cents per lead. So that's a lot of margin for you to market this thing up and actually go start making lead, getting people in. And what's nice is, let's say you are reselling Go High Level. Why do people add in things like UpX, Play HT, or Play, not HT, Play, what is it, Plat or Play? I can't remember. These do-it-yourself ad programs. It's because they don't want to run ads for people, but it is hard to sell SaaS if you're not generating leads for people, because a lot of people don't have data going into it. So if you can just be filling up data into their thing and sending leads to them, this is going to be icing on top for your SaaS offer. And if you've already got people in your SaaS, this is something that you can absolutely upsell them on. So I would highly suggest put something on there, and then make sure you always have the scarcity and say, because I'm just getting into this data program or whatever. And this, by the way, is not going to be our main method of acquiring customers. This is just because I want you to feel excited about it. I want you to see it, because once you see it working, it's going to be a game changer. It's lights out. You're not going to want to change anything else. Do that. So first part of this challenge is make a post on your wall. Now, has anybody in here ever taken my program called Small Ticket Sales for Entrepreneurs? Shows how we generate like tens of thousands of dollars every single month with no ads, no funnels, nothing, in a small audience. If not, it's a pretty inexpensive program. I think it's like 97 bucks, 197 bucks. But I'll give you the premise of, there's a spot in there where I talk about the actual post. I want to give you guys this premise. And if you go back and you look at some of my posts that have actually caught fire, that have done really, really well, you can kind of emulate. But the first step that I have found is it can't sound polished. You almost have to sound a little bit like excited, or like a chip on your shoulder, or something that makes you sound human. If it sounds like you're trying to write good copy, it will turn off a lot of people who might be interested in it. I know that sounds crazy. It's the raw stuff that almost feels real that people need. And then I always follow the pain solution offer format. So, because I'm trying to peak there and make it work. So here's an example. You could say, hey, I have a question. This really only pertains to anyone who either has great SEO on their website, or they're spending at least $2,000 a month on their ads. If that's not you, unfortunately, this isn't, you won't be able to help. So saying something like that right out of the gate, what's it going to do? It's going to flag everyone's egos. The other day I made a post and I said, who is spending here, I think I said at least $5,000 a month on ad spend for themselves. All of a sudden, tons of people who don't comment on any of my crap. People that probably don't even like me. Everybody's excited to say, oh, I spend $50,000 a month. Everybody starts coming out of the woodwork with their because they want to brag about it. It's something that makes them feel good, which is fine. That's what the intention of that sentence was supposed to do. So you qualify them right up on the front. And then what you do is you say, here's why. And that's when you let them know. I just started licensing into a new data program where I can get you high quality data, accurate leads for 50 cents a pop. Here's how I'm doing it. The people who visit your website, they've been on other sites already and they've opted into other forms. And when you install a little script on your site, and as they hit your site, we're going to be able to tell you their email, their address. We'll be able to figure out their estimated credit scores, tell you where they live, tell you their high school, let you know their blood type. We can give you so much detailed information. Now, how can you ethically and legally use this data because they didn't opt in? You send them through an email campaign with an opt-out. It would be illegal to try to call them, etc., but you send them through an email campaign with an opt-out. Here's some stats for you. On average, 15% of the people are going to reply, 20% will take the call to action. So that means for every 100 leads, you're going to get about 3 people to take a call to action. So that means I can guarantee, I wouldn't say guarantee, but you can say, so that means I can get you about 2 to 3 people to take a call to action for every $50 you spend. There's no minimum for you to get started. I'm only going to take 3 people on this for the beginning. just to test. I'll waive the setup fee of $2,500. All I want is a testimonial so I can start selling this to the masses if you're interested in this, But what you do is you gotta make it sound conversational. You gotta help them to feel like, oh, okay, this is reasonable. We're going amygdala and then limbic. And then we gotta try to make their neocortex give them permission from it. If you haven't watched any of my videos on that, you can go back in almost any video that I've ever written on scripts. That's how you talk about. Now, for those of you guys who didn't watch our training a week ago, I'm going to just show you guys really quickly how easy this is for you to set this up. And then once they've got leads and data and people responding and replying and responding to text, then you know what we get to do? Then we get to upsell them on all sorts of stuff. We can upsell them on voice bots, text bots, all that. But this is a great front end offer. So I'm going to share my screen here. Can you guys see the screen? Okay. So the way that you set up identity resolution is really simple for us. You hit add domain. You're going to put in the domain name here. You just click this, enable identity resolution, and that as long as you have credits in your account, it'll start pulling. I think it's 60 credits for every one lead. That equates to 12 cents per 60 credits. So it ends up being 12 cents per lead. If you want to only enable the identity resolution on certain pages of their website, you can put the URL there. For instance, a lot of people in e-commerce are using this for their shopping cart. They just want shopping cart people. They don't want the rest, and they're sending them through retargeting campaigns. You can do that. If you've got your Go High Level accounts connected, you can choose a location, and then you also can choose a tag after you choose that location. And as the leads are created, it'll automatically send that data into Go High Level for you. If you want to send it into a Consolidata pipeline, and because we have an integration with SendGrid, so if you set up a SendGrid account and you set up your automations right within Go High Level or Consolidata, you can do that right here. And you can say, hey, I want it to go into this pipeline and this pipeline stage, and then you hit create. Once you hit create, you're going to get this little script. And when you save this script, you can either put it in the body of a website or in the Google Tag Manager. Now, I want to give you a heads up warning. Go High Level's funnels are iframe. And so if you put it in the global body of the page, no matter what, oftentimes it doesn't work. We've typically found you actually have to go into each individual page and add it into the body of each individual page on the tracking. And then in the settings of your Go High Level funnels, make sure you turn off the thing that says optimized JavaScript, because they will just get rid of all that. That's the same reason why sometimes it's really hard to get like Google conversion tracking to work on a Go High Level funnel, because a lot of times those pages end up blocking certain things. So once you add this into it and you've enabled it, you need to make sure that the sub account you're using has credits on it. Now, I recommend if you are if you're very good at keeping track of things, then you could just run pretty much everyone's account out of your $197 a month account. And there's no reason, it's not against our terms of service. Like, that's fine. You can add unlimited sites here to a $97 a month account, and that's fine. But if you're trying to track how much they paid you for credits, it's going to make it difficult, because technically one sub account is designed for one business. It doesn't mean that you would get like booted or that we care if you're running it out of more than one. It just means that it's so when you go over here into clients, you can add, you have your agency credits, and then each client, you have to add the amount of credits that you want them to actually have. And so, like, let's say a client pays you, $500, and so you're going to give them $500 worth of credits. You could then just add that to their account, and then when it runs out of credits, it runs out of credits. And so then they would just need to re-up, to where if you have everybody in one, you really have to be on top of it to figure out when you've utilized all their credits, so that way you're not using more than what you did. So I'm gonna then click in on this account. Slow internet. Give it a second. Okay. And then I'm just going to click identity resolve only. And then you can see these little links here. And if I just click on a link, I can see who this person is. Riviera, I can see their address, I can see their email. You see it has this tag identity resolution. I can look at, um, you know, all this information. I can see their tech, but then also I can see, where they came from. This looks like these guys might have come from what's his name, Russ Ward's site, and then got into Consolidata, got over to Consolidata because I think he has something called the AI King now instead of the Lead King. And then if I actually click on these sessions here, I can go back and actually watch what the people are doing when they're on our sites. This does require better internet than where I'm at here. I think if I go back though. Then you can actually go and watch what that person was doing on your website while they were there. This is kind of nice because identity resolution is kind of mysterious to a lot of people. It's like, okay, I see this list of contacts, but were they really on my website? Like, were they really there? This just adds another layer of legitimacy to the data that you're providing for people, which is nice. So let's open this up for just a moment because I wanted to wrap everyone's heads today around what it is that we're actually pushing. Let's do a little bit of Q&A, and then we'll, and then we can continue our discussion. So does anybody have any questions, thoughts? Doesn't matter on what it is in regards to what we're discussing here.
I could share a tactic that I'm using with a pixel.
Oh, for sure. Please do.
So we use programmatic advertising. We're in the B2B space right now. So we have a pixel on our client's landing page, and let's say they do a POS for hair salons. So they hired us for data, and then we're doing programmatic ads for them, $3,000 in ad spend. So we're actually using SIC codes, SIC codes in the B2B space to find med spa owners, nail salon, hair salons, just using SIC codes. So we're just driving cost-effective CPCs, really cheap CPMs, just driving pure traffic based off that. And we can also layer on revenue of the business of like, let's say, 500,000 or 1 million, we could add that layer. So all we're just driving is just pure traffic outside of Facebook and Google as a top of funnel traffic source, and just driving traffic to a landing page just to train the Facebook pixel for the conversion. So that's what we're doing on the B2B space.
So you guys are using, because this data over here, I know you're not using our data, but this data here is all based off of SIC codes.
Nice, yeah.
All of this stuff here, and then you can, get, so you're taking information like this,
Yeah.
and
No. So we're on Trade Desk, which is a third-party DSP. So we have a seat there, and we're just using their third-party data, right? And we're running it on the open internet outside of Facebook and Google ads. So we're running display ads. So we're
Okay.
meeting these people where they're at when they're not on Facebook or on IG. Oh, you're on USA Today? Great, let me show you a banner ad for this POS. And then just drive
that's
the
cool.
clicks.
Is
Yeah.
it working pretty good?
Yeah, we're getting about $12, $20 leads on Facebook. We're retargeting the based off the pixel.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you ever
So it
heard of
works.
a company called Ground Truth?
Yeah.
So I used to do a lot with Ground Truth, and they do a lot
Mhm.
of like they use Amazon's advertising,
DSP, yeah.
which can be yeah. And boy, that was pretty cool. You could do similar things like, because I was doing it for personal injury attorneys, so I would draw a square around like hospital waiting
Yeah,
rooms, like the emergencies.
yeah, you're blueprinting. That's what it's geofencing it.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
geofence like an emergency room, and
Mhm.
then I'd retarget those people.
Yeah,
Jonathan
that
had a question. And by the way, guys, just so you know, this challenge, even though I'm going to be taking the lead on a lot of this here, there's a lot of people like Alvin and other ones with a lot of experience. This isn't the Ross show. If you've got thoughts, ideas, there's a lot of people smarter than me in the world. So feel free to chime in and share that, you know, in with this, because I want this to be a fun group thing where we're all trying to get clients together. Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just so how does this, I understand once you get the identity information for email marketing, but explain to me again how this can be utilized for, I know he mentioned Pixel, but how can this be utilized so we can actually put ads in front of the people that that we gather that information?
So I'm going to say something controversial, and it's probably something Alvin disagrees with. That's okay. Um, do you guys remember, because Jonathan, this is a great question. I personally don't think you should run ads to these people. So here's why I say this. Do you guys remember Joshua Harris from like 2018? Okay, he started getting really, really like into this in market data, he was calling it, and he would sell people in on like this huge program. And I would have people come to me and they'd say, hey, I bought into this program. It was $5,000. I landed this chiropractor. I want to use this data. And at the time I was doing white label fulfillment for people. And they would say, can you generate leads with this from? And I would upload the hash files. I would create lookalike audiences. I followed everything that they wanted to do. And I always got better results just using Facebook's existing audience. Always, every single freaking time. And here's the conclusion I came to. Facebook and Google already know who the heck these people are. It's just we didn't. The identity resolution tells us who's on our sites, but Facebook and Google already knew them. So let's say that you have 500 people visit your website, and we're able to only pick up on, say, 20% of them. Guess who knows who pretty much 100% of them is? Facebook and Google. So why not just do a normal retargeting campaign of a web page? It's all we're doing when we do that is we're pigeonholing them and saying, hey, you can only use these 20 people, which is less data than you had, but I know at least. You know what I mean? So that's why I like hitting them with emailing, direct marketing. Like there's no reason why, if mailbox power, $199 a month for unlimited mail outs. You could literally add that as a part of your offering where you're like, hey, we send them a mailer to their home. It's like, and all you do is you're just paying 50 cents a lead. It's crazy.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think maybe back then in 2018, the data wasn't really there yet. But we've been using the in market for the past 5 years. We were able to get it to work
But
outside
let me
of
just ask you
yeah,
though, what do you
yeah.
think makes it work? And
It's
I
really
mean
the
this in a
signal.
healthy debate. I'm not trying
Yeah, no,
to,
no, no
yeah.
worries. It's really the keywords. We get to custom pick the Google keywords. So we'll take the top 20 to 30 transactional keywords from the client. So let's say we did this one for HVAC in Dallas. We take their keywords, we expand that out to 2,000, 3,000, and then we get a national file from that. And then all we did was just do lookalikes from it. And then in the first 30 days, they generated about 107K in revenue in the first 30
So,
days using the lookalikes
so let me ask you a question though.
locally too.
We'll take
Yep.
Google as the example because I think that's what you're referencing here, right?
Yeah.
Google?
Yep.
Yeah. So in Google, when you create a custom audience, they
Yeah.
allow you to go in and type in people who have searched for these keywords
Mhm.
and
Yep.
who have been on these websites.
Yeah.
So
In-market,
Google
yep.
knows all of them. Yep.
Yeah.
How is that any different than the in-market data that you're providing because you're just using a lookalike audience? So you're
Sure.
basically saying the same thing as the
Yeah, so we're taking those same keywords, but we're throwing it into Facebook ads. So the Facebook ads, now they have behavioral intent. And we were able to get it done within a 20 to 30 mile radius locally.
So if you're pulling those the people who have visited those keywords from Google
Mhm.
and then putting
Mhm.
them into Facebook, if
Mhm.
you're for your initial launch,
Yeah.
okay, I can see that making sense.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
hear me out on this.
Yeah.
After 200 clicks from
Yeah.
just people searching those keywords, just driving that traffic to your page, you could just retarget them on Facebook and create a lookalike audience.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now you're getting pretty much the same data without paying thousands and thousands of dollars for the in-market data. That's why I don't think in-market data is a scam if you're using it to retarget people through email and
Oh yeah.
through mailers. But I just
Yeah.
don't believe in it as a model for ads. I just don't, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, yeah,
more
it's
ways
fine.
to swing a club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just one of the angles we were able to get it to work in a bunch of different niches. And the cool part about that too, we're just using hashed emails, right? We're not using any of the raw emails. And we get about 45 to 55% match rates on Facebook, 55% match rates on TikTok, 30% on Google. And then if we loaded the hashes into LinkedIn, we get about a 90% match rate, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess my thing is that if you want to know exactly who you're targeting,
Mhm.
sure. But I trust Google's data and Facebook's data enough that if I were to say, hey, I just drove 500 people to my website who were searching for a used car.
Mhm.
Find more people, create a
Like them.
retargeting lookalike audience of people that it's it's going to be the same thing. In fact, you might actually end up getting more data because you're giving them more freedom to say, hey, explore your data for, that you have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on the flip side, I really, really like identity resolution for email marketing and for mailers. I think it's just an incredible way to be able to go at it. And it's worked for us. It's working for our software company. Yeah, Jonathan, by the way, Jonathan, you can just turn on the mic and treat this like the view.
Now, I just wanted to know a question about what is the what is the reason or what is the difference maker between the percentage of people that we are able to capture versus the percentage that we're not?
So it's just cookie matching. So it comes down to who we were able to identify. Like, okay, because what happens is when they visit the site, we create something called an MD5, which is a profile for that person's device and their browser and their all that. And then we send that back to our data provider. We say, hey, who in the pool has this kind of data or matches this? And they send it back. And so what we found is that if it's US based, we have about it's been higher lately because we're now doing cookie matching. We were doing IP matching. When we were doing IP matching, it was only like 10 to 15% of the data we'd find a match for. Right now, it's more like 15 to 25% we match. And what I have found is that it's about 85 to 90% accurate to the household. Maybe not to the individual themselves, but to the household. And so um, it's a pretty powerful thing to be able to have. So we're going to be talking next week, by the way, just who are some of the ideal people to prospect after. But just to kind of get your brains twirling, because I want people to have conversations with people over the next week about this. Anyone who is like a third generation business owner is going to be incredible for this because they typically have awesome SEO already on their website. Like even just by age, it's not even because they did a good job on SEO. It's just because they've been around so long that their domain has good authority on their website. And so you'll find people with 10, 15, 20,000 visits a month, in certain areas where they took over a business from their families, service-based businesses, these kinds of things. Those are huge. Another one is e-commerce is really big. But play this out in your mind to think about this. Imagine that you're shopping for used cars and you go on a website and you're looking at their stuff. And then if you hop off and you see a few hours later an email that comes through that says, hey, here's a list of our top 10 cars under $15,000 on the lot. You're going to open it if you're actually in market for this and that's what you're looking for, and Now you can try to get them into, and I would even say give them that list, but then I would try to say make it sound like a human sent them an email, like, you know, hey, this is so and so from blah 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 dealer. I saw that you were looking for a used vehicle. I wanted to send you a list over the 15 top cars that we have in our lot right now under $15,000. 15 under 15, that would be kind of a cool thing, whatever. And then be like, if you have any questions, or if was there something specific you were looking for? I would almost ask a question with that is not something that they can just ignore. They can, but obviously, like if I say, let me know if there's something you have a question on. Well, that's kind of open ended. They don't really have an obligation for any momentum to have to reply. But I say, is there a specific kind of car you were looking for? Because I can keep my eye out or talk to someone in our network, and something that's specific that could get a specific reply. And now you're going to get a percentage of those people replying. You open the door to a conversation. And what's nice about thinking that far through the whole process is because when you tell people about this at first, they think it sounds creepy. They're like, you know, how in the world do you reach out to those people without them getting weirded out? They didn't opt in or anything, and now you're reaching out to them. Well, we do it subtle. We do it through we email them, etc. And there you go. So, any other questions?
Do you need some kind of disclosure on your website or privacy policy on what you're going to be using their information for? Or is that just under normal cookies,
It's going to be the normal
typical
cookies.
privacy?
Yeah, it's going to be the normal cookies because here's the thing. We're not extracting the data from their computer, and meaning we're not getting the data like going into their browser and stealing their information. We're taking publicly accessible information and comparing that to a database that we already have of data. So like right now, Howard, if you had a phone book in your hands, would you need to call the person and say, hey, I'm looking your name up right now? You wouldn't
Yeah.
need to because you already have the data. So whenever they submitted the form or whatever it is they applied for or something that had to do with their credit that got them in the database the first time, those people disclosed were the ones responsible for disclosing their data use. We just have to disclose that we're tracking them with cookies.
Okay. And then when you're sending out an email campaign, are you doing that out of Consolidata? How are you not landing in spam? What is the process on that?
Good question. So first thing I would say is because you're going to have a higher, I don't want to say bounce rate, but people not responding, etc. I would not use your normal email account that's like your main company email. I think that would be a bad way to do it. So my suggestion would be to create an email for the company that is like a .net or something that is, same name as the company, but has a different thing in the back end of it. And I would even potentially warm up that email list a little bit. Like there's things like Run List. We have a tool that's going to be coming out that's very inexpensive I think it'll be like $5-10 a month to keep an email warmed up or replies back and forth through the API. That's not going to be available for at least another month or so. But tools like Lemlist, you can warm up an email, and then I would forward it to them. Just have it all forward into their email so that they can see those replies. But that's the structure I would use. I wouldn't use their email. You don't want to burn up their email and get them flagged and seeing a lot of stuff like that. You just want to filter them to them the good stuff.
But are you sending that out of Consolidator or out of like Lemlist or Instantly or one of those things?
I would send it either out of Go High Level or Consolidata. Whichever one you're using is fine. Yeah, and I'll show you guys real quick how you do that, just so in case it's not a clear. You can still see my screen here, right?
Yeah.
So under pipelines, so first off, if you go over here into integrations and you click on conversation platforms, you can add in SendGo. But if and then once you do that, then you can just go over here, click on this, and you can add email. And you would just select which email would be SendGrid, and then you put your topic and you send this. And what's nice is you can even split test it. So you could go like this and, do a 50-50 split. You could see which one's getting the greater reply. That could even be something that's a part of your offering, is that, you build them out a nice follow-up sequence that helps them to get, a good reply rate. And then you just have the lead strip in there.
Hey, when you're doing like I guess billing for the clients, or this may not even come up. I may be creating a problem that's not there. But for instance, if we're identifying leads, but they're like, hey, these people actually filled out a form. Do we have to pay for that? Right? Like, is that something you've faced or a question that you've ever faced?
Well, you're going to get some overlap. It's unfortunate, but you're not going to be able to fully get away from that. But what you can say is you can say, hey, even if they did fill out this form, I guarantee you they didn't enrich the data with all the data we have,
Ah, okay.
because there's a lot of enriched data in there. So if they end up, like, let's say that lead ends up already being inside a Go High Level, and then we come back and add our data, all it's going to do is then enrich that data. It's not going to duplicate, as long as you don't have duplicate, records on there. It's just going to enrich that data. So, I mean, to enrich the data for 50 cents is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And I would make sure that you guys charge at least 50 cents per lead. That is still cheap. That is so inexpensive. And the way I look at it is, even if only 1 in 10 leads were to reply, you got a lead to reply for $10. It's just such a no-brainer math, you know?
Here's one cool trick we're doing with Pixel, Ross, is we're using Google Tag Manager as a timer. So if you have like a VSL that's like 5 minutes long, it's like, hey, in 1 minute, if they're still on the page session for 1 minute, fire off a custom pixel. 3 minutes, fire off a custom pixel. So based off those two events, you can send that back into ads and then do
Yeah,
lookalikes of that too.
that's kind of a cool idea. We could even do something
Yeah.
like that inside of our consolidated visitor tracking.
Mhm.
Because one of the things that we recently added in here is so if you notice up at the top, you have like all this excess data that you can, pull from and see where stuff's coming from. And if you click on events, which we literally just added, I don't even think I have this thing running right. Um, we're setting this up to where you can have different event types. So we could have like a timed event where, like, if they hit a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
that
Usually
you
it's,
could apply a specific tag to them or something.
yeah, it just shows higher intent. Someone who's on watching there or staying on the page for like, for a
Yeah.
long time, like that's high intent that I'd want to use.
So here's something that we are working towards that's kind of cool is, you could find and say, okay, out of the last 500 customers, on average, how much time did they spend on our websites before they made the purchase? And since we're tracking all their user sessions when they visit, we can get that data. And then we could say, okay, who else in my database has been on our websites that long but hasn't made a purchase yet? And then that would give you like your next lowest hanging fruit.
Ross, where you put it in a domain and then you had the subdomains on it. When it's in the main domain, does it track if they go to subdomains, or does it only track on that main page, or do you get charged each time they go to a sub page?
So it's going to be, if you use the same script on all those sites, you're not getting charged for each time it resolves the identity and tells you who it is, because once we know who it is, we know who it is. But you would have to use the same script on all the different websites in order for you to, and you can do that as long as the root domain is the same.
Okay. It's
I believe.
Probably
If for some reason, Howard, you do that and it doesn't work, then it means I'm wrong. That's what I'll say. I believe that's how it's structured.
okay. You mentioned in Go High Level in a funnel, it needs to go in a specific place. That's new to me. Would you be able to show where that is, or is that something you can just send me a?
Say that one more time because I
You mentioned in Go High Level in a if the website is a funnel, it
oh
needs to go in a very specific spot. I'm not
yeah,
quite sure where that is.
I'll show you one sec. And then I got a meeting at 3. Okay. Share my screen. So let's say that this is the funnel that I was doing it on. If I put it here, it's unlikely that the thing is going to work very good in the body tracking. And I would want to make sure that I turn off optimized JavaScript. Otherwise, sometimes it doesn't work at all. But then if I go on each individual page, and click on this, you can put it in the footer tracking and it'll still work.
Okay, that's better off in the header, I'm assuming.
No,
It doesn't matter.
it's gonna be better off in the footer. And the reason why I say that is because the header is always going to be the first thing to load, and it's very important to not affect your page load speed. And we have found that installing any scripts in the header will affect to some degree your page load speed. It's
Okay.
very possible that your page load speed, I shouldn't say will so dogmatically. It's very possible that your, depending on the site that they're clicking from, like have you ever noticed how terribly slow Facebook's browser is? So like you click on a video or something from Facebook and like their browser can be slow. So we just want to make sure the page loads real quick and then this loads right behind it. Because people will actually get frustrated if they're like, hey, we installed your script and now page load speed is going slow. You know, you just don't want that to occur. Well, guys, I have got to let you run because of this. No problem, Ian. Yeah, we're recording this. Sherry will be posting this up. Uploading this for us by tomorrow. So I appreciate you guys. Next week, though, I'm actually going to be giving you guys some scripts for outreach to be able to get people interested in this. And then, this week, here's a fun little challenge. If anybody can prove that just by going and posting on their wall, so I'm going to want to see a post that they were able to land a client for, even if it's a waive the setup fee, just pay for the leads. By this time next week, we'll give you guys, let's just say like 50 free leads in your account. So that's the equivalent of 50 times 60. We'll upload that as credits in your account as like a little you win bonus. We don't care how you use them. You can use them for yourself, for someone else. You can use them to go start trials. That's absolutely fine. Just make sure that you tell them that at the end you want to get a testimony. Okay, guys, I gotta go. We'll see you.